The man who was called the world's most famous dancer died today, and the first test for a Bill Clinton cabinet nominee. Those are some of our stories coming up on the noon news.
Tonight.
The sleeping giant.
These are Jimmy Dean flapsticks. They taste wonderful, the hardest thing I ever tried to explain in my life. Take Jimmy Dean sausage, wrap a nice pancake around it, put a handle on it. You understand that? You do. Try it. Taste that country goodness.
Miles needs a replacement for pregnant Murphy.
I think the answer's obvious. Joe Garagiola.
On the next Murphy Round.
Tonight at 6:30 on Channel 2.
A new storm is rolling over Northern California, leaving some Santa Cruz mountain people a bit nervous. And rain on the coast means snow in the Sierra, which is still recovering from the last storm there. Those are some of our top stories next on the noon news.
Now, live, the award-winning KTVU News Team and the Noon News.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Frank Somerville.
And I'm Laura Zimmerman. Good afternoon to you. The latest winter storm rolled into Northern California overnight. Light rain and cold temperatures met a very chilly and raw morning from the Golden Gate all the way to Lake Tahoe. There was even a little snow this morning in Dublin. Lloyd LaQuesta is in Felton in Santa Cruz County as the coast waits for an even bigger storm, and he joins us now with a live report. Lloyd.
That's right, Laura. I'm on the banks of the San Lorenzo River in Felton in the Santa Cruz Mountains. And as you can see behind me, the river is nowhere near any type of flood stage. There is a light rain falling now, but the forecast is for moderate to heavy rain today, anywhere from 1 to 3 inches along California's central coast. The Santa Cruz Mountains do have a history of mudslides, so officials are warning residents who live on steep terrain to watch for any possible signs of earth movement. Officials say a large sustained downpour could trigger slides.
Because of the drought that we've been having, if the mountains absorb the water like they are right now, and we don't have a runoff into the river anytime soon, then there is I imagine a threat to some areas that, there'd be a mudslide, but I don't think anything too major.
Laura and Frank, as you may recall, on Monday I demonstrated the dangers of black ice. Well, standing on a bank of a river like this when it starts raining real heavy is not a good idea also. I don't plan to demonstrate to you, but this could just as easily start crumbling if the rain comes down real heavy. So again, the warning is be very, very careful out there, especially if people live up here in the mountains. Back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Lloyd LaQuesta, reporting to us live from Santa Cruz County. Well, back in the immediate Bay Area, the rain and wind combined with cold temperatures to create a chilling commute this morning. And reporter Vern Hawkins joins us live now from Oakland with more on that. Vern.
Well, Frank, the Bay Area did wake up to a kind of a drizzly, foggy morning. That's what we have right now. The Port of Oakland in the background, you can usually see it a little clearer than you can right now because it is foggy, and we're still waiting for the heavy stuff to come in. By the time it does, we could get an inch or two of rain right here in the Bay Area. People bundled up to go to work this morning, trying to stay warm as well as dry. Although it's not nearly as cold as yesterday, Californians are dressing for winter, just like the old days. Last month was the wettest December in 9 years, and we're off to a good start for January, one of the key months to build reservoirs back up. This storm, light as it is, still causes traffic chaos. A big rig slid off the road at 580 and 680 early this morning, closing a ramp about 4 hours. One was hurt, but traffic was snarled for a while. The driver blames the rain.
You got up against the curb and jackknifed the truck. You figure it was the rain, or what do you think it was? Yeah.
Aside from commute problems in the Livermore Valley, snow on Highway 29 between Napa and Lake County set up chain requirements around 2 a.m., and it's still slippery up there. You can even get into trouble without leaving home, though. A 60-foot redwood toppled into an Oakland backyard on Arkansas Street this morning, wiping out a fence and just missing a house.
I felt the thump. I just felt something maybe on top of our house fell down, but I was real shocked to see a tree laying across our yard. Oh, I freaked. We needed some more firewood because we're nearly out, so I guess now we have it.
Even firewood couldn't heat up Castro Valley High. The school shut down today after one too many problems due to its aging steam heater. Teachers complained it's just too cold in the classrooms, and students happily agreed. But it's supposed to be a brief vacation with the furnace and classes working by tomorrow. Well, you have to be careful where you're driving today, nonetheless, even though it isn't heavy yet. There's some flooding reporting right now on Highway 1 in Mill Valley. Now, the road isn't closed, but there's a lot of standing water there, so be careful where you drive today. And tonight we understand that it'll get heavier and possibly a little milder temperature, so we're still waiting for it to come in, but it looks like it's on the way. Back to you, Laura and Frank.
All right, Vern Hawkins from Oakland, thanks very much for that live report. Well, up in the Sierra, the storm is now creating some new headaches for Caltrans, but it is delighting water officials. Survey teams testing the snow near Echo Summit yesterday say the water content of the snow is up 133% of normal for this time of year. Water crews have yet to take their first measurement at San Francisco's Hetch Hetchy Reservoir, but the remote sensors show the snowpack around Hetch Hetchy is at 120% of normal. However, the reservoir itself still remains relatively dry at just 43% of normal. Just days after Caltrans reopened highways after the last big storm, crews in the Sierra are gearing up to deal with the latest snowfall and, of course, a new round of traffic problems. KXTV reporter Mark Schumacher is on Interstate 80 right now at Blue Canyon, and he joins us live. Mark.
Well, I'll tell you, my outfit should really kind of tell you the story right now because it is raining up here at Blue Canyon. This is at the 1 mile elevation point. It's a little too damp for down right now. This point is one of the warmer storms we've seen in the past few weeks. Essentially, the ride up the mountain, most of it is a slushy mess today rather than an icy, treacherous one. That gets you up at least to about the 5,500-foot mark, which is where the chain requirements now begin today. That's where they're requiring them. So that's a little distance even past where we are right now. Now, as far as the snow is concerned, though, once you get past that checkpoint, we should point out that it is still very lousy conditions. The visibility is bad. It's very slick on the roadways, a lot of snow, so they're getting a ton of it up by the summit near Truckee. The interesting thing we've noticed, though, in this day today is the fact that even though it is midweek, the traffic is very, very light. You know, for about the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've been preaching to people, listen, if you don't have to come up here, don't, because the conditions are so lousy. Well, finally, it appears that people are at least listening to us. And as this day progresses, apparently the conditions are going to get a little bit worse. Let's send it back to you in the East Bay.
Okay, thank you very much. Mark Schumacher reporting to us live. In other news this afternoon, President Bush reportedly is on the verge of giving Saddam Hussein a 48-hour deadline to remove Iraqi missiles from the southern half of his country. If the missiles and some radar equipment are not removed from below the line imposed by the U.S., bombing may begin. Mr. Bush is expected to make the announcement sometime later on this afternoon. Last week, as you may remember, the U.S. Air Force shot down an Iraqi jet that reportedly crossed into that no-fly zone and challenged American fighters.
George Bush is delivering his last budget as president, and it's a budget with another record deficit. Mr. Bush told congressional leaders in a White House meeting this morning the government spending plan calls for borrowing another $292.4 billion. Now, that's $18 billion more than last July's projections. Congress is being blamed for the increase. The delay on Capitol Hill in providing money to rescue the savings and loan institutions is a big part of the jump as well. President-elect Bill Clinton is expected to submit his own spending plan shortly after he assumes the presidency in exactly 2 weeks. On Capitol Hill, confirmation hearings are getting underway on Clinton's cabinet choices, and the first appointee up for a vote may be the most controversial. David Snepp joins us with a live report now from our Washington bureau. David.
Well, good afternoon, Laura. As you said, Brown is the first cabinet choice to face Senate scrutiny at this point. As chairman of the Democratic Party, Brown helped orchestrate Bill Clinton's victory to the White House, but it's other aspects of his career that are now being questioned. Ron Brown walked into the lion's den of the nominating process this morning, but found himself among lambs.
The clear voice that Ron Brown can bring to national policy and to international policy will serve this country well over the period of the future.
He's a typical New Yorker. He calls it the way he sees it. Came up to New York and called it that way many times during the campaign. And I'm pleased that the people did not listen to him.
Tougher questions on Brown could come later. Some criticize his business dealings with a New York contractor and his work as a foreign lobbyist.
With all of his foreign corporate clients that he's represented in the past, we wonder how he can be an effective advocate for American business when he's represented all these foreign corporations.
Republicans still smart over John Tower's brutal defeat as President Bush's first choice for Secretary of Defense 4 years ago. Democrats today sought to head off any retribution.
And I'm satisfied that you acted properly.
As for Brown, he also defends his record and urges senators to focus on his agenda.
I will be relentlessly aggressive and pragmatic in advancing the health and growth of the American economy.
Now, Brown's ties to the country of Haiti got some slight attention today, but none of the fireworks that were predicted earlier. All in all, Frank and Laura, it looks like Brown's going to be confirmed by a good margin.
Okay, thank you very much, David Snap, live in Washington. California Governor Pete Wilson promises to outline his plan tonight to bring the state out of recession. The governor will deliver his annual State of the State address to a joint session of the legislature. Governor Wilson says excessive regulations, high taxes, and workers' compensation fraud have made California's economic slump worse than it has to be. He promises specific proposals to encourage what he calls, quote, a great California comeback. The state currently is mired in its deepest economic downturn since the Great Depression.
We've got much more just ahead on the new news today, including the very latest on that huge oil tanker creating a giant oil spill off the coast of Scotland.
Also, a look back at the life of legendary dancer Rudolf Nureyev.
Aerobics isn't just for adults, and we'll show you why. And we'll also point you in the direction of the Bay Area's best whale-watching spots. That's tomorrow on Mornings on 2.
This is KTVU, Channel 2, your Fox affiliate in the Bay Area.
There are conflicting reports now on whether or not that leaking oil tanker north of Scotland is still in one piece. The ship is carrying 25 million gallons of crude oil, more than was carried by the Exxon Valdez. A British government official says it appears the ship may be breaking apart. But a British shipping minister says an aerial survey shows the ship is actually still in one piece. Hurricane-force winds and heavy seas pounded the ship yesterday when it ran aground. Nonetheless, some oil has leaked out, leaving 7 square miles of ocean now covered with oil.
One of the most celebrated and talented ballet dancers of our time has died. Rudolf Nureyev passed away this morning in Paris, reportedly from heart problems. It was widely believed, however, that he had AIDS. He was 54 years old. Reporter Cynthia Tornquist now looks back on the life and career of this remarkable dancer.
At 7 years old, Rudolf Nureyev saw ballet for the first time and knew then he wanted to dance. However, his love of ballet was not shared by all.
Each time I ran to do class, my father beat me up. He didn't want to have a sissy in his home. He wanted to have butch guy, engineer, army officer, that kind of stuff.
Nureyev later joined the Kirov Ballet, where he became the company's star dancer. But his independence made him distrusted by Soviet authorities. Then in 1961, after the company's first Paris season, he was ordered home. Instead, he defected to the West.
The moment I've been told that I'm not going from Paris to London, but I'm going back to Moscow, I asked to call a taxi. Call me a taxi. So, I decided to run right on the spot.
Nureyev increased ballet's popularity in the West after his defection from the Soviet Union. At age 23, he became the world's most famous dancer, appearing with more than 30 of the world's major dance companies. He mounted and choreographed more than 25 productions, and in September 1983 was named the artistic director of the Paris Opera Ballet. Even though his most recent international dance tour, Rudolf Nureyev and Friends, was billed as a farewell tour, he had no plans to retire. Looking back on his 40-year career, he had no regrets.
It's a thrill. It is painful, but it is a thrill to be a dancer.